Jason is now Michael, JR and Petra met up, and Raphael kicked Jane out. I don't know what in the 1920s my hair is doing right now, but at Jane the Virgin writers, why are you doing this? Get your lives. Hi, I'm Jenny, and I watch Jane the Virgin because, like Jane, I don't enjoy being happy. Okay, so we're on episode 4, chapter I Don't Give a Shit, and we finally get a Zoe update. So in this episode, she's going to be having her last chemotherapy session. And I just have to say, I would have really appreciated it and liked if they threw in somewhere along the first 3 episodes a doctor's appointment or a conversation between her and Jane about her health. That would have been really helpful. Because really just the few scenes she's been in, she just looks very sickly. Which I understand chemo can do that to you, but I just would like to know where they're gonna go with this. Okay, cancer is pretty serious, and Zoe is an important character, and I would have liked to see more about that. Also, Alba is getting letters from Jorge because he's away visiting his family in another country that I think is Mexico. So he's sending letters, and I guess the whole point of these letters is to be convincing for whatever investigator might come about to validate their marriage. But Alba keeps getting reminded to keep her feelings in check because she's reading these letters and thinking that Jorge really feels these things that he's writing, only to find out at the end of the episode that it was pretty much what everybody thought and feared, was that he was just writing these things to be more believable, for their relationship to be more believable. And his sister, we find out his sister was helping him spice up the letters and told him to bring up old memories and stuff like that to be more convincing. So but Alba still isn't giving up. She was a little bit heartbroken when he came back home, but she's not giving up. She still believes that Jorge has feelings somewhere because, as she says, you don't love somebody deeply and then just let it go. Speaking of which, on to the next mess. So I just want to say, from the beginning of this episode, I was just Jane and Raphael it just doesn't feel as good as I thought it would. In season 1, when every time they had an encounter or a kiss or anything, you were oh, and it's I don't know if it's just too little too late or what, but it's seeing them in their home and in a relationship, it just doesn't give me the feels that I wanted to feel. However, then thanks to the narrator, the whole first chunk of maybe 10 minutes of the episode, you're waiting for Michael and Jane to have an encounter. When are they gonna run into each other so that she can find out that he had all these memories of Michael and whatnot. And so sure enough, she goes to the hotel and they make eye contact as he's driving off in the cab, and she somehow knows it's Michael. It was very lackluster to me. There was no build up. There wasn't even music and glowing hearts and all that jazz, nothing. It was just she saw him in a cab and he was deer in headlights, drove away. And there was this really awkward scene where she goes out to valet, and maybe it's because we're used to the same few sets on the show, I don't know, but she goes out to this valet and steals a scooter from somebody and scoots her way to the bus station that Jason is going to, and then only to find out that Jason didn't get on the bus, and oh yeah, he's not Jason, he's Michael. He's just full on Michael now. He's Michael. Okay, and no accent or anything. And it's I don't know. I was okay. So then they talk at the bus station briefly. Jane calls Raphael because she's I've got to hurry up and call him and crush his soul, right? And then when she gets a hold of him, he's oh, I'm on my way to this open house to do something really incredible with my career, and it's a really big day for me. So hey, Jane, don't ruin it again. You ruin everything. And maybe that's too harsh. And so she decides not to tell him about Michael. And instead, first of all, I was why are you chasing after this man? You have a man at home. Why are you chasing after a man on a scooter, no less? And but whatever, that's the show, right? And so she's with Michael, and she decides, oh, well, let's just go have a Cubano day with Michael. And they sit and chat, and there's this scene, this montage of them catching up. And so she's telling him about her broken leg, and he's telling her about helping a horse give birth. So I might be in the minority on this, but the whole Jane and Michael catch-up scene, I was yep, okay, because I've always kind of been Team Raphael, but also I'm getting to the point already, only in episode 4, where I'm getting frustrated, and I've gotten this way a couple times in past seasons where I'm just Okay, I quit. I'm out. It's too much. It's too much. So let's put a pin in that and head over to Marbella, where Petra finds out that Magda is back. So she's got a little like fortune teller table set up in the hotel, and of course Petra like rushes to go kick her out, and then Magda makes a scene like, "How are you gonna kick out this old lady, right?" So Petra decides like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna go get a restraining order. I'll be right back." So then in the meantime, Magda decides to sue Petra, and basically she is wanting to get money from Petra, and she's like, you could either like spend all this money on a lawsuit, or you could just give me money and then I'll leave, right? Because it's always about money with Magda. In cuter news, Mateo has Grandparents' Day coming up, and Zoe really wants to participate in it. And of course, they kind of all assumed that she wasn't going to because it's her last chemo session that day as well. And so everybody's kind of worried that she's rushing too quickly to get back to her old self, but she insists on going. So Rogelio says he's going to bring up like his glam squad to make over Zoe, and then Alba decides she's going to take him up on that offer too because George, why do I do that? Jorge is coming home. So anyway, then Jane, of course, decides that she has to tell, because she's honest and whatnot, she has to tell Raphael that Michael got all of his memories back. And Raphael's like, great. And he says, you know, like, do you still want to get that divorce? And of course, Jane wants to say yes, but alas, she's a jerk off and she's complicated. She's a complicated jerk off, okay? And she tells him, like, I don't know, I need time. I am so tired. I'm so tired. Like, I get it's a telenovela, okay? Got it. Check. It's TV, Jenny. I got it. But I'm like, all the like twists and turns and the like the plot twists and the dun dun dun, like I'm here for it. Evil stepsister, cool. But she's like, seriously, when you think about it, she's like, hang tight, let me go date this guy so that I can make sure that like I actually like you and I'm not missing out on something better over here. How many times is she gonna do this, Raphael? Like, that's legitimately what she's doing. That's not cool for anybody to do. I don't even care if it is a telenovela. So everybody's at Zoe's last chemo session, and Petra is blowing Jane's phone up because JR got back to her and she needs help concocting a response. So Jane is like, oh, I got it. I know who's gonna give me like their, honest opinion and some good direct advice. Petra, because of course, with this whole Michael and Raphael situation, Jane's family is like, oh, follow your heart and all that kind of BS. So she goes to Petra's place, and she tells her about what's going on, and Petra's like, oh yeah, easy, stay with Raphael. Michael's your past, Raphael's your future. Divorce Michael, move on. This was like 4 years ago. You have a new life, move on. And I agree. So granted, I haven't had a husband come back from the dead and whatnot, but I just agree with Petra. So Petra and Jane start drinking while they're talking, which is a great idea, always. And Jane decides that she's going to mail her divorce papers, and she's like, boom, done, decision made. And then Petra's like, yeah, but you have to help me text back JR. And so they come up with this like nonsense response, partially stolen from Jorge's letters to Alba. And they decide like, okay, I'm gonna hit send when you drop the divorce papers in the mail. And so Jane drops them in the mail, and then of course runs into Michael, and then of course chases after the freaking mailman to get her divorce papers back because like, why wouldn't you? But then, oh my gosh, so then like Raphael calls Petra to like follow up on something or other with her kids, and she tells him like, yeah, you're welcome, I got your girlfriend was sending her divorce papers. And just the excitement that was all over his face, he was so excited and so grateful to Petra. And then I'm like, I mean, she's gonna tell you that she got them back, and sure enough she does. And again, I'm so tired of watching Raphael suffer. Even if you're team Michael, even if you think Raphael's a douche, like, I'm just so sick of him just waiting around for this girl to make her pro-con list. And like, yes, I'll admit it, I am shallow. I'm totally shallow. I'm watching this show and I think Raphael's hot, and I'm like, yeah, I just want them to be together because I'm Jane and I like Raphael. So that's who I want to be together. Duh. But it's like, even so, just like, oh, make a decision. I'm just getting so frustrated. I'm really about to stop watching this show. So Magda shows up at Petra's door as Petra's on her way out to go meet JR because they talk and decide to meet up. And so, like, I'm super excited about that. But then Magda comes and handcuffs herself to Petra. So then Petra's like, well, too bad, and drags her ass to JR's house, where they, like, have this really cute exchange about, like, how Petra's gonna be honest and like all the things she's lied about. It's just so cute. And then they kiss, so I'm like, yay. I'm really happy about that because I love them together, and I just love Petra as like dating JR, whatever you want to call that. And then Jorge comes home, and Alba kind of has she gets a little bit of a smack in the face because he's like, oh yeah, my sister helped me write those letters. So she's like, well, I'm gonna go to Grandparents' Day then. And Grandparents' Day was so freaking cute. So Mateo and Zoe do a dance together, and him in his little suit with his little elbow things and his little shoe. Oh my god, it was so cute. It was so cute, and it was actually the only part of the episode that made me emotional. It was like, it was so cute, especially watching like Jane and Rafael watch Mateo. It was so freaking cute. I cry at everything my kids do. So immediately. But then I knew it was coming. Like, you knew it was coming. Like, I knew Zoe was gonna get sick. It was gonna be too much, and she was gonna get sick. And I'm like, one, please don't barf. But two, I was like, oh, please don't let something happen in front of these kids. Like, as she's dancing, like, that's just too much. Please don't collapse in front of these children. But she finishes the dance and then tells Jane, like, we gotta get out of here. And then she ends up passing out in the parking lot. And so they take her to the hospital, and you find out that she's just overexerted herself. So she's okay, but she needs to take it easy. So in the hospital room, Zoe explains to Rogelio that like she wants to get back to her old self so that she's remembered as herself should something happen. She doesn't want to be remembered as like sickly, weak Zoe. She wants to be remembered as fiery Zoe. And then Rogelio shows her clips of Mateo saying all these like badass things about his grandma Zoe. And I don't remember what he calls her. But anyway, then like back at the Marbella, Rosario Dawson, aka JR, hacks off the handcuffs with an axe, and it was super hot. And I just thought she's so gorgeous. So then Rafael brings Alba back home from the hospital, and he has his own snow falling memories come back to him, and he's like having all these memories of all the times that Jane basically picked Michael over him. And so he goes back home to Jane and was like, I gotta leave. And she asks if it's for good, and he says, I don't know. But he said pretty much he just remembered how much it killed him every time she chose Michael, and he couldn't do it again. And I was like, you know what? Good, exactly, good. Because every time she's got pussyfoot around, and he's got to wait for her to make her little pro-con list and decide, oh, do I want to be with you? Do I really want to be with you? I don't know. And yeah, I was like, good, you shouldn't have to deal with that again. And I really want them to be together, but not like this. I will say, Mateo comes out and like overhears part of this, and he's like, no, don't leave, I want to be with Daddy. And so Rafael rushes over to Mateo and tells Jane, you can go. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's bigger than me because I sure as hell wouldn't have walked out of that house, but she did. And that's how chapter 84 ends. All I've got to say is don't let me find out that this show pulls a Secret Life of an American Teenager and friggin' ends on like, like a bullshit feminist note. Like, she's all on her own and she can do it. I swear to God, if she doesn't end up with one of them, I don't even know.